Back in 2023, there was this super creepy viral image that spread all over the internet. It was a picture of a strange living creature discovered deep under the sea. Now, describing what it looked like is kinda tricky, but imagine a big, doughy lump like when you mess up kneading dough and the filling just oozes out all over the place. If that's still hard to picture, don't worry, just take a look at the image I've put up here. Yeah, this one. And let me tell you, this isn't some edited or photoshopped image. Nope, it's 100% real. And the moment people saw it, they were completely shocked. Like, what the heck is this thing? Is it the remains of some alien life form that crash-landed on Earth? Or could it be an entirely new deep-sea species, something humans have never seen before? Well, that's just a little taste of what this story is about. And that brings us to today's topic. 5 terrifying things hidden beneath our ocean. Things that we never even knew existed. So what are these mysterious and eerie things lurking in the deep? Well, let's dive right in, starting with number 5, the sea turtle graveyard. During a professional diving expedition near Malaysia, a group of divers stumbled upon something so unsettling that it sent chills down their spines. While exploring a small underwater cave, about 23 meters deep, they encountered an eerie sight. A massive collection of sea turtle skeletons and shells. There were so many of them that it looked like a burial ground for sea turtles. But this raises a question. How did so many turtles end up dying in the exact same spot? You see, sea turtles are solitary creatures. They don't travel in groups or live in large colonies like other marine animals. They live alone. So, for so many of them to die in the same place, that's extremely unusual. Could it be that sea turtles have some kind of funeral ritual like humans? Do they gather together to bury their dead? That seems highly unlikely, right? Funeral ceremonies are a human behavior, not something animals do. Or maybe the turtles had an instinct, a kind of natural behavior that made them return to this cave to die. Similar to how salmon swim upstream to return to their birthplace when it's time to lay eggs. Could these turtles have an instinctive drive to come here in their final moments? But that theory doesn't hold up either. When researchers examined the remains, they discovered something shocking. Some of the turtles were still young, strong, and completely healthy. They weren't sick, they weren't old, so why did they die here? That's when keen-eyed investigators started paying attention to the structure of the cave itself. They discovered that this wasn't just any underwater cave. It was a maze, a dark, complex labyrinth of twisting tunnels. And this led to a chilling realization. What if these turtles didn't come here to die, but got trapped? Imagine this. A turtle accidentally swims into the cave. It wanders deeper inside, searching for a way out. But the cave is so complex, with so many twists and turns, that it can't find its way back out. And that's when a terrifying fact comes into play. Sea turtles can drown. Many people don't realize this, but sea turtles aren't fish. They don't have gills. They need to surface for air. On average, a sea turtle can hold its breath for about 2 hours. But after that, it must return to the surface to breathe. So, what happens if a turtle gets lost in an underwater maze and can't find a way out before its oxygen runs out? Game over. This discovery was both tragic and terrifying. A silent underwater trap that has likely claimed countless sea turtles over time. But if you think this story is disturbing, the next one is even worse. Number 4. The mysterious deep-sea predator. Swimming in the ocean already comes with its own risks, but imagine this, you're casually swimming and suddenly you realize you're in the same water as a crocodile. What would you do? Comment below. I'd love to know how you'd handle it. Now, this exact scenario happened in a deep-sea location near Mexico, 8 kilometers beneath the ocean's surface. That's right. A massive crocodile was found in the deep sea. But hold on. How is that possible? How did a crocodile end up in deep-sea waters? That's where things get even stranger. This wasn't a living crocodile. It was a dead body, and it didn't just end up there naturally. Scientists deliberately placed it in the deep sea as part of an extreme experiment. The goal? Keycap 1 to observe how deep-sea creatures would react to the presence of a crocodile carcass, something they had never encountered before. Keycap 2 to investigate whether unknown deep-sea lifeforms existed, creatures that might never have been seen by humans. And the results? Terrifying. After dropping 3 crocodile carcasses into the deep sea, something shocking happened. The first carcass immediately attracted a swarm of giant deep-sea isopods, prehistoric scavengers that resemble massive underwater cockroaches. These creatures have been around for millions of years, older than the dinosaurs. Within 24 hours, the first crocodile was completely stripped to the bone. It was like a scene straight out of The Mummy, where flesh-eating scarabs devour a body in seconds. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. After the first crocodile was reduced to bones, scientists noticed something strange growing on its skeleton. A mysterious, hair-like substance. It was brownish in color and covered the entire bone structure. At first, they thought it was just leftover tissue, but when they examined it under a microscope, they discovered something shocking. It wasn't just hair. It was a new species of bone-eating parasite that had never been recorded by science before. A deep-sea bone-eating worm, an organism that thrives in complete darkness, feasting on skeletal remains. This discovery shocked marine biologists, proving once again that we barely understand what's lurking in the depths of our own planet. But wait, the most horrifying part is yet to come. One of the 3 crocodile carcasses completely disappeared. Unlike the others, this one left no trace. No bones, no remains, it was just gone. Which begs the question, what took it? For an entire crocodile carcass to be completely devoured, whatever took it must have been massive. At least 2 or 3 times the size of a crocodile. Could it have been a prehistoric deep-sea predator lurking in the ocean depths? Or some unknown creature that has remained hidden from humanity? We still don't know. But if mystery sea creatures aren't scary enough, the next story is even darker. Number 3. The ancient giants throughout history. Many myths and legends have spoken of giants, beings of immense size and power that once roamed the earth long before humans. Some believe in the Nephilim, mysterious creatures mentioned in ancient texts. Others claim that giants were actually ancient extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth and helped build early civilizations. But the big question remains, is there any real evidence of giants ever existing? Skeptics argue that if giants were real, we should have found their remains by now. They say the lack of physical evidence completely disproves the idea. But then, something strange happened. A group of divers exploring the waters near Madagascar stumbled upon an enormous metal object lying on the ocean floor. It was so large that it was about the same height as a fully grown adult. When they swam closer, they noticed something startling. The object resembled a giant sword or blade. It was so massive that it took 3 divers to lift it. This discovery immediately sparked excitement among believers in ancient giants. They claimed that this could be the lost weapon of a giant, proving that these mythical beings once existed. But, of course, skeptics had a different explanation. Some scientists suggested that the massive metal object wasn't a weapon at all. Instead, they theorized that it could be a fragment of an old shipwreck or even debris from a sunken aircraft. But here's the thing, humans are wired to see patterns. When we find an object that resembles something familiar, like a sword, our minds immediately connect it to legends and stories we've heard before. So was this truly the weapon of an ancient giant? Or was it just a coincidence? A random piece of metal that happened to resemble a blade? The truth remains unknown. But one thing is for sure, the ocean is full of strange and unexplained discoveries. And the next story is even more unsettling. The most terrifying thing is humanity. It's undeniable that the greatest threat to our oceans is human activity. Over the years, humans have dumped countless strange and hazardous objects into the ocean, some of them by accident, but many intentionally. One particularly shocking case went viral on the internet, showing an enormous nuclear reactor allegedly found on the ocean floor. The claim was that Russia had been secretly conducting nuclear experiments under the sea. But before jumping to conclusions, let's pause for a moment. The truth? This image was later debunked. It was nothing more than a well-crafted Photoshop hoax. Even at first glance, experts could tell it was fake. However, this doesn't mean the problem isn't real. While that specific image was fake, the reality is that the Soviet Union and modern Russia have indeed dumped nuclear waste into the ocean, and in massive quantities. It's not just a few isolated incidents. These nuclear materials have been disposed of all over the Arctic Ocean, particularly in the waters north of Russia. And here's the scary part. It's still a problem today. Fish caught in those waters may be contaminated due to radioactive pollution that has been accumulating for decades. During the 1960s to the 1980s, the Soviet Union carried out extensive nuclear tests. But here's where things get even worse. After conducting these tests, they didn't bother to properly dispose of the radioactive waste. Instead, they dumped it directly into the ocean. Reports suggest that nearly 20,000 pieces of nuclear waste have been discarded into the sea. Think about it. How did the people in those times not realize that this would become a catastrophic problem for future generations? And these weren't just small fragments of waste. Among the discarded materials were entire nuclear reactor cores from submarines and icebreaker ships, including those from the Russian ship Lenin. Even today, authorities know that these materials pose a serious threat to marine life and human health, but retrieving them is not a simple task. Radioactive materials cannot simply be touched or removed easily. If disturbed the wrong way, they could break apart, releasing deadly radiation into the surrounding environment. If something goes wrong, it wouldn't just affect the people handling the recovery, it could contaminate entire communities. To recover these nuclear waste materials, the cost would be staggering. More than $96 million per project. And with ongoing global conflicts, such as the Russia-Ukraine war, it's highly unlikely that this issue will be resolved anytime soon. The terrifying truth is that, while we often fear sea monsters or unknown creatures lurking in the ocean, the biggest threat to our planet has always been us. And now, we return to the first mystery I left you hanging on. The strange, wobbly creature that went viral and had everyone wondering, what exactly is this thing? With its gelatinous, almost alien-like appearance, many speculated that it could be a deep-sea organism never seen before, or even a life form from another planet. But what if I told you it's actually a hermit crab? Yes, you heard that right. This blob is none other than a highly resourceful hermit crab, an animal that I personally like to call the designer crab, because of its unique habit of selecting the most unusual objects to use as protective shells. Normally, hermit crabs search for hard shells, like those of sea snails, to protect their soft, vulnerable bodies from predators. This is why hermit crabs come in so many different shapes and sizes. Their armor is always something they've picked up along the way. But the crab in the viral photo took things to the next level. Instead of finding a solid shell, this particular hermit crab wrapped itself in a soft, living organism, a sea anemone. And not just any sea anemone, a venomous one. Rather than just shielding itself with a hard shell, it decided to use a toxic creature as its own personal defense system. It's a genius move. Since hermit crabs aren't affected by the venom of sea anemones, they simply carry them on their backs from a young age. As the crab grows, so does the anemone, until it completely engulfs the crab in a soft, wobbly, and bizarre-looking mass. Hence the alien-like appearance. But here's the best part. It's a perfect partnership. The hermit crab benefits because it no longer needs to keep replacing its shell. Normally, as a hermit crab grows, it outgrows its shell and has to find a bigger one. But with a sea anemone, the anemone grows with it. The sea anemone benefits because, on its own, it would be completely stationary, an easy target for predators that aren't affected by its venom. But by hitching a ride on a hermit crab, it gains mobility and protection from those that might try to eat it. It's an amazing example of nature's perfect teamwork, almost like a mutual agreement between two species to ensure survival. And there you have it, the top 5 eerie and mysterious things lurking beneath our oceans. We often fear the unknown, but sometimes, when we finally discover the truth, it's even more fascinating than we ever imagined. And with that, I'll leave you for now. See you in the next story. Until then, take care.